All right. Welcome to the show. I didn't want to interrupt everybody in football land. Seemed like there's a lot of people watching some kind of a spectacle today. I'm not sure what it is. I think it's called the Super Bowl. Seems to be on today.
Yep.
I'm looking forward to this. I guess Trump is going to be speaking, or he has a pre-recorded program. And I think he's uploading it right now for people just before the Super Bowl. He's supposed to give his little speech or whatever. I'm not sure where it is, but the idea is that he is actually going to be talking a little bit. And then he's actually at the Super Bowl for the first time, I think, in forever, that they've actually had a president at the Super Bowl, which is kind of risky. I'm just thinking, just spitballing here. What are you guys' thoughts about what's going on with the Super Bowl today? Any potential black swan events happening?
All day long. Basically, think about it this way. The main one, of course, is obvious: the nuclear football. So, nuclear attack. They're at the football stadium. What a great time for something like that to happen. And the Rapture Resurrection event that takes place during the Super Bowl, where you might see a lot of fans just disappear before, the nuclear bomb hits. But more than likely, that's not going to happen. But but that's pretty much the sketchiness I've been seeing a lot. I don't know about you guys.
What a heck of a halftime show that would be if the Rapture happened at halftime, right? Wouldn't that be cool?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That'd be awesome.
There is a lot of predictive programming, though. There's been a lot of movies with predictive programming about like a mass casualty event happening at a big football game. So, you always do have to kind of, be like, this is interesting, But
right.
Glad you called this a little bit earlier today, Shane. That's the first. If you guys are going to become the 51st state, that's the first rule of being an American. You got to respect the Super Bowl. But
that's what it seems like,
right? And like for me, to be honest, I'll be honest with you, because I can only stay for about an hour. Till about 5:30 when kickoff happens, and it's not for the game. I could care less about the game. I gave up on football years ago, but. My family is, we're going to have a dinner together, have the game on in the dinner. And so family is important to me more than the game. I'm going to have dinner with the family at that time. So it's a big deal for a lot of people.
Right.
Yeah, same here. Family's coming over, family and friends. That's something I've done since I was a kid.
Yeah.
Family comes together. So it's a family event. Me too. I don't care about football. I don't watch it. Don't care to. I get it. So all you people are saying this, could you watch it? No.
Nope.
It's a public event, but if you're a watchman, you have to watch it, because then you want to see what goes on during the mid game, the halftime show, and see all the Satan symbols and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And thing is, like you said, one of these Super Bowls, it's a predictive program. It says that something's going to go down. So why would you not want to watch?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Why would you not? And plus, on top of all that, you have all the Elon Musk government. We're working on the government now to find all the corruption and stuff like that. And here are all the bad players. And they're going to plaster the face of the Democrats all across the Super Bowl and stuff like that. What a great time to do that for him. So I can't wait to see what that looks like.
Yeah.
And more and more, the stuff that's coming out with that. The commercials are entertaining. People say the commercials are more entertaining than the game, which I agree.
Yeah.
I
used to just watch the Super Bowl just for the American commercials. Let's be honest here. That's what a lot of us watch. And I can't tell you, I think the quarterback who's attached to Taylor Swift, that's kind of all I know in regards to football. But the one thing that intrigued my attention during the week is they basically had a contest for ads to for people to come up with a creative idea for an ad to play at the Super Bowl. Normally, you pay millions of dollars to get your commercial run. So these two guys actually ran a campaign, and they basically created an ad, and they actually called it Alien Abduction Doritos. So it's interesting for me because I used to deliver potato chips for 9 years as a truck driver.
Mm-hmm.
My competitor was Doritos. So secretly, I'm a big fan of Doritos over the company that I work for potato chips. But I couldn't eat potato chips from the competitive while I was working with the company. So I was in a bind. So
you couldn't do it openly anyway, huh?
I couldn't do it. I had to put all the chips in a Dorito bag, right? And then eat them in the truck.
Closet muncher.
Yeah, exactly. But this commercial, I watched the ad. I don't know. Did you guys watch the commercial already?
No, not yet.
About it? No? Okay.
Not yet.
It's gonna be they're gonna be showcasing it somewhere during the halftime show. But basically, the idea behind the ad is there's a guy sitting in his office or in his room at home, wherever, and all of a sudden he's eating a bag of potato chips, and all of a sudden this beam, a blue beam, comes in and grabs the bag of chips from him to pull it outside the window, and he's like struggling with this bag of chips and wrestling with it because the alien wants to abduct the bag of chips with this blue beam. If that doesn't spell conspiracy, all kinds of Black Swan-y kind of ideas, I'm just like ding, 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 alarms going off, all this kind of stuff, right? So it's going to be coming out sometime. It might even have been shown already, but I think at like 4 o'clock, whenever the Super Bowl starts, they're going to start showing this ad. They'll probably just run it once or twice, maybe, probably one time. But what do you guys look for when it comes to some of the ads that you see? Like, what are you guys looking for? Like any kind of what jumps out at you?
Well, I'll tell you one thing I could brag on just for a minute here. In last year's Super Bowl, the farm that I managed was actually in the Super Bowl ad. It was, if you go back to last year's ads, it was Tractor Supply, and Tractor Supply came out to film on our farm, to use our farm for their Super Bowl ad. So that was kind of cool. That was cool to see us. Yeah, that was cool to see us.
The Matrix is getting smaller and smaller. What about you, Jason?
I'm pretty much expecting a bunch of occult imagery. You know, pretty much. I see watching TV. It's known to put us, I guess, in an alpha wave, a more suggestive brainwave, I guess. I see it no different when you're watching ads and things like that as worship, because it's pretty much the same thing. You're fully captured. You're listening to the message. It's in a form of chanting and music, and we know that TV puts you into a very suggestive, almost like where they can at least subconsciously put these worldviews, in there. I'm always concerned about large gatherings in the United States for just basically, like New Year's, going to the ball and stuff like that. And I'd never go around with that. I think that the game is that God revealed everything in the Holy Scriptures, and Satan has to also reveal everything that he wants to do. He doesn't have to put it in the book. He doesn't have to say that it's the gospel. He can just the rule is he has to reveal his cards, and I think that he's like, well, I'll just do it through music, and I'll do it through entertainment, and that's it. Yeah. I mean, just the point, movie stars. I mean, stars is symbolic of angels too. It's interesting.
What are your thoughts, Bob? What do you look for?
Oop, you're on mute.
My bad. My mic was mute. I agree with Jason. I look for all the symbolic, symbolism that they use, occult stuff like that. But I think over the years they kind of watered it down because a lot of us are catching on to it. You know, they started watering it back. They got really bad when they did that whole thing with what's her name on that big line, stuff like that. The line was moving and stuff like that. They really got to some deep stuff.
Oh,
and then they started like, you know, started dialing it back, stuff like that. Once they had Madonna on there with all that crap, and people are like, dude, we don't like any of this stuff. What is this? You know?
Right.
And I think they pretty much like apex at the Olympics, you know, just recently. So I think everybody's tired of it, and they're like, okay, I think we got the message across. But who knows? They might go all out for this one because now, you know, now they don't have their guy in there, or do they, you know, for the presidency.
Right.
And I don't know. It's I guess we won't know until we watch it today. You know. But yeah, that's pretty much my there's probably gonna be a big nothing burger.
Yeah.
All right. This part of my video, this part of the video will be like, oh yeah, all this stuff's going to happen. Then I got to edit it out by tomorrow, you know. When I repost the video. I'm just going to jump ahead to all the stuff that's that doesn't deal with the Super Bowl.
I'm kind of leaning on the idea of something for us that's going to be abrasively satanic, but to the world they'll be like, what's the big deal?
Right.
Like something always seems to slap us in the face real quick, and then they wash it away. Like, remember Janet Jackson?
Yes. Yeah.
That was what started the time delay on all this stuff.
Yes.
And they basically exposed her out into public, and this went against the norm. You don't do this kind of thing, again, because you have kids, women, children sitting at home, gathering around as a family. They exposed the world to pornography instantly, gave them an appetite, gave them a taste, and then they whet your appetite a little bit more with something else, and then they say it was just a mistake. They corrected it. Yep. Our publishers, we apologize. Our producers apologize for you guys. Sorry about that. We don't know what happened, but something popped in, and sorry, that wasn't us. So I expect a bit of an exposure today, because I'm telling you, the crowds online are going to be above normal to this year, because the president is there. So they want you to see something. And again, it's going to be corrected afterwards, where they're going to be like, sorry about that, guys. We don't know why that came on. We didn't agree with it. But they show it, and now we're exposed to something a little bit darker. Christians will see it, but the regular world will miss it. And they'll be like, what are you guys complaining for? Like, it was the greatest entertaining halftime show we've ever seen. It was mesmerizing. What did you guys?
That's an excellent analysis, Shane. That really is an excellent analysis. You know, I think they called that, you know, like the Overton window, you know, where you're kind of shifting things, and the fact that Trump is going to be there, I think that's an excellent analysis that you just came up with. By the way, here's a little test. I was thinking about this earlier today, and I thought this was kind of amusing and that I'd share it with everybody. Here's a little test, and this works whether you're a Christian or not. So even if you're not a Christian, you just tuned in, you're listening to us, this works. How do you know you're getting old? Do you want to test to know how you're getting old? The way you know you're starting to get old is when the halftime show, you're like, who's that? Really?
Exactly. Yeah. Who's that? That's funny.
That's where I am now. You know, I'm like, oh, you know, who's this dude?
Yeah. So I'm looking for some kind of overtly satanic in some ways, but on the surface level, it's going to be, oh, what do you guys, why are you Christians always complaining about stuff?
Yeah.
That kind of, you know, and it might be like Bob said, it might be just a nothing burger where nothing pops up, but I'm really looking to the imagery right down to how they line up the stage, how everything is positioned, all this kind of stuff, those kind of under the radar kind of a thing. And even like Doritos, the whole idea behind the logo is you don't even need to show that it's Doritos for you to understand that it's Doritos, because it's beyond the logo. It's beyond the image. That's how good their chips are. When you taste one, you just think Doritos, whatever it is. You don't care what the logo. So for a while, their branding was, there is no logo. You don't need the logo. and that worked for people. It's like, oh, we know what that is by the taste of the chip. So there's advertising is just a glorified medium to get people into a hyper frenzy to want to go out and buy something unbeknownst to them. That's all it is. TVs, beer, whatever it is, right? Whatever, right or wrong, there's stuff there that they're throwing at you that you're like, oh yeah, you know what? Today I feel like getting a cheeseburger.
There's your branding right there.
Yeah, I feel like getting a Black Swan coffee today. It's kind of weird how all of a sudden I'm a little jittery. I need some Black Swan coffee.
There's your branding right there. See? Yeah, I came representing today.
It's so
subtle.
That's
how I am. That's the kind of friend I am.
To be subtle. Even Bob, Rev 5 in the background, that's subtle, man. I don't know if people picked up on that.
That's how we roll. That's how we roll, bro. Somebody in your comments, Lori, said that, I don't know where she got this information from, but she said that she heard that Kendrick Lamar, who's the halftime act, is going to be performing with a crown of thorns like Jesus.
Oh my God. Well, there you go. Boom.
There you go. If that happens, yeah. And you know, isn't it interesting how Christians are the only ones that it's okay to offend us, you know, like, you know, if you tried doing something like that and making fun of, you know, the Prophet Muhammad or something, I mean, people would come unglued. But, you know, they've done all kinds of things. Like years ago, some artists put a crucifix in a jar of urine and, you know, they do all kinds of heinous, blasphemous things. And it's just supposed to be okay. We're not supposed to take offense to it. So I wouldn't doubt it. You know, I guess we will have to wait and see, but I wouldn't doubt it.
Yeah.
Yeah. What did it say? How do you know which God? Is it which God do I worship? Or which God's the true God? And the answer was one that you hate. That's the true God, Jesus. The one that you hate. The one that you mock. That's the true God. It's not Allah, not Buddha. It's not any of these false Indian gods or anything like that. It's Jesus Christ.
That's true.
Okay.
That's true.
Yep.
Have you ever gone on a job site and you know how guys talk rough? Everybody's kind of got rough language. Have you ever gone on a job site and heard somebody say, whatever, like Confucius, you know, they don't say that. They use Jesus's name as a curse word because it's the true and only God. You know, they don't say, Krishna or you know, Buddha, or they don't use those names as a curse word. So you're absolutely right, Bob.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's right. The one true only way to heaven. And unfortunately, there's a lot of people that believe in these false gods when they take their last breath, and all of a sudden, why am I falling? Why am I falling still? Why is it getting hotter? Okay, why don't I see a light here? Why am I so full of fear? I think they figured out instantaneously that knowledge comes to you at that point. It's like, nope, you're going to hell. Yeah. That's a horrible feeling. What a horrible feeling, man.
Yeah. It's I don't know if you guys I'm borrowing my friend's laptop because we too are having a little bit of a Super Bowl party. I'm at their house. I'm in the little shop in the back in the basement here, and we're having friends over. We're having chicken and all kinds of stuff. But I don't know if any one of you guys can punch this up. For some reason I can't get it up on my side. But it's called, if you type in Crown of Thorns Super Bowl, I don't want to see video, but there's images that show this guy that you just mentioned. What's his name? Kendrick Lamar. And the one picture I want to look at is the Crown of Thorns by Tiffany and Company. Has over 8,000 diamonds. I think they're going to be representing that crown today in this halftime show.
Here's I see a bunch of stuff on TikTok. I don't know. I can share. I just Googled it. I can share my screen, and if you see something that
I'm looking for the Crown of Thorns Super Bowl with a bunch of women dressed in red gathering all around. What's his name?
There you go. Right here. There we go.
Yeah, that's it right there. So I'm expecting lots of reds because it's the Chiefs, right? Lots of reds with lots of women dressed up as red are gathering around this guy with the crown of 8,000 diamonds, 8,000 stars.
I'll pull it up on a better screen. Let me get you a better screen of that. It wouldn't let me do the pop-up window in the share screen. There you go.
Okay, let's see. There we go. So yeah, this is what I expect at the Super Bowl. Something like this going on. And again, it's entertaining. It's subtle. It's like, hey, what's wrong? He's singing. He kind of like, to me, right out of the gate, I picture almost like a representation of a pastor or a shepherd, a leader with the black pants, white shirt. Now you got a crown representing Jesus Christ, and then you got all these women dressed in red. So there's lots of, to me, dark tones of satanic ritual type of stuff. Like, I don't know how else can you look at this. Like, honestly, I don't know how else to look at that. But that's what I expect today. Lots of red today.
Yep.
Yeah, very satanic.
Yeah.
Where does this picture come from? This is the guy that's performing tonight?
Yes.
Supposedly, yeah.
Isn't he the guy that like had those red Satan shoes with like real human blood in it or something?
Oh, no, that's the other dude. That's Little Nas X. That's a guy called Little Nas X.
I forgot about that.
Never heard of him either.
He's another rapper, but he's homosexual. Little Nas X.
Yeah,
he did a whole thing on, I don't listen to that, so I don't know, but he did a whole thing on, Satan, and I don't know. I mean, these people are so messed up,
For me, I see the opposite. I see that it was harder to catch the satanic occultic symbolism, let's say decades ago.
Yes.
And I find now it's actually opposite. I find now they're more brash. They're more like confident. The Olympics was mocking. That was the Last Supper. Give me a break about, that's Dionysius used to, and stuff like that. So, the damage was done. That to me, again, was a ritual. I see that they're just becoming more and more confident. Remember
we're on the same page, Jason. That's what we're saying is it's going to be overt right now, like almost over the top, but we'll get blasted like, hey, why are you guys oversensitive?
Yeah. Well, that happens always. I mean, years ago, I can remember, if you grew up back in the 80s, if you remember those days, you remember the big hair bands that they always said, Motley Crue and Ozzy Osbourne, all these guys were satanic. And you heard people like, I'll just give a good for instance, like Jerry Falwell when he was still here. He was warning about, the Teletubbies and Tinky Wink and being a homosexual, and people made fun of him. Right. But he was before his time, because look at what has happened in our age. Look at the eruption of sexual deviancies that has happened in our age that wasn't going on back then when he was pointing it out and people were making fun of him for it. So,
Yep. This is Satan's stage. It's the biggest stage on the planet, essentially. Yeah. Okay, this is still his. Well, he's still God of this world. And these people, all of these entertainers out there, they all serve him.
Yep.
Okay. So what do you think they're going to do? Just like Jason was saying, they're more abrasive now. All right. They're more out there now. So I don't know, folks. We know that it was 2,000 years from Adam to Abraham, 2,000 years from Abraham to Jesus, and now 2,000 years from Jesus to, right about now. Yeah. So, and we have a 2032 projection for his return and 7 years tribulation. That's this year.
Yeah.
So I don't think they're going to hold back. I think that they're going to let this thing rip. And since it's his greatest stage, and they're getting more abrasive, like Jason was saying, they're going to do something here that's going to be, who knows? It's going to be, it's absolutely satanic. And
I got a speculation for you. I've got a speculation. I want everybody to weigh in on this, because I know Shane has said many times he's got his little jars up on the shelf of who he looks at like Antichrist candidates. Okay, we've talked about this. Now, people, listen. Don't take me too seriously, because this is just wild speculation for the sake of conversation on this channel. What would happen, in your opinion, Shane? Would this be the mother of all black swans if during the halftime show Trump came down to Kendrick Lamar, and Kendrick Lamar took off the crown of thorns and put it on Trump's head?
Whoa. Yeah.
Discuss.
Yeah, it would be crazy. Like, I don't think he's going to go, like, they'll show him.
Yeah.
But it wouldn't shock me if they incorporate him into this kind of deity kind of a thing, because we've seen this before when celebrities come in. They come from the crowd and get the crowd involved, and then they get carried on the crowd or whatever it is. Then they get to the stage.
Yep.
That allows them more time to have a presence so that the whole crowd buys into it. It wouldn't shock me. That's an interesting observation.
You got really something to say now. And
Go
I've
ahead.
already messaged. I did 2 videos, and I'll do it as quickly as possible. You know how the first horseman, the white horseman with the
Yes.
crown, bent
Yes.
on conquest, going to conquer.
Yes.
I know that traditionally Christian tradition has seen that as the Antichrist.
Yes.
When I saw, I had learned that the crown. Now, check me if I'm lying or not, but it seems to me when you go to Blue Letter, the crown is not like, it's specifically a victor's crown, very similar to the Olympics and the wreath.
Yeah, it's perishable.
Okay. What if the first horseman is not necessarily the Antichrist, but it's someone that comes in on a landslide victory? Okay, Trump was victorious over bullets, weaponized judicial system, and all the other attacks that were going on him. Okay, yet he had a victor's crown at the end. Okay, and in his new 4-year mandate, he is coming out like with, it's like one day after another. But the one thing that it kind of irked me, and I love Trump, I really like him. Okay, and I'm not even claiming that he's an Antichrist. I have my opinion on King Charles anyways. That's my bias.
Right.
But
yeah.
I'm like, he could be the white horse that's going to set off, because his moves are like, you know what, Canada, you're not doing your part. Maybe you should be part of the States. You know what, Greenland, we need that. Oh, you know what, Panama, they're not doing their job. That's mine. You know what, Gaza, free Palestine, I'll buy it for free. And I think those are actually great moves. I'm not even saying they're demonic moves, but what if do you actually think that the archons, the principalities that rule all those nations around Israel will allow the U.S. to move in right beside? Iran calls Israel little Satan and U.S. big Satan. And I never have prophetic intuitions. I don't have any of that. Right. And I wasn't trying to decipher something. It just, like, when the Holy Spirit gives you an insight and it's on, and it was just like, this is the white horse, and it's going to set off, because of the huge moves, the red horse, World War, with a great sword. And then just naturally the black, which is famine, because once World War happens, you do get plagues, pestilence, famine, and stuff like that. That's all. That was just like, I'm not claiming it's fact.
Sure. And I think you bring up something interesting, because I know we've all been taught that the white horse is the Antichrist, and I have no problem leaning down in that direction. But I think if I approach it, I go, okay, what if, and this is the black swan speaking, what if this white horse is bringing something where peace is actually being taken away, and it's symbolic that the whole world is actually going to be their pieces being removed. And then the other, because you do have 4 horses here that are all kind of working one after another. The one interesting thing that jumps out to me with this white horse, it's not Jesus Christ. I know that 100%. But the white horse, the rider on the horse actually has a bow. And the bow in Greek means toxin. It's not a bow like this.
Yep.
It means toxin. So if you talk about all this other stuff, now I don't want to get demonetized. I don't want to get banned from YouTube or whatever. But how many things do you think that you can come up in your head over the last 4 years that revolve around the word toxin that we put in certain,
in the context? Yeah, it's right there in context. And I could see where you're going, Jason, and I could agree with that as well, that we've traditionally made that rider on the white horse to be one of 2 people. Some Christians think it's Christ, which again, we all kind of disagree with that. That's not the return of Christ. That's just the beginning of troubles. It's not the end. And then the second position has always been the Antichrist, and we've kind of always traditionally held to one of those 2, but it doesn't specifically say it has to be. And so what you're saying, I could see it possibly going down that path where it's someone who prepares the way for the Antichrist. Maybe the Antichrist isn't even revealed until after the red horse, after the economic collapse of the black horse, the guy who comes forth to bring forth the problems. The only thing that I think we all need to recognize, whoever that rider on the white horse is, if it's Antichrist or if it's someone else that ushers in Antichrist, that is the first seal of wrath. We need to recognize that's when the wrath of God begins, is opening that first seal, because the Lamb is stripping those seals off. So whoever that is, it's going to happen after the rapture. But that should show us how tremendously close we are. The fact that we're talking about Trump and talking about how he could maybe fulfill this first seal thing, even if he's not Antichrist, that should tell us all how tremendously close we are to that rapture event, because that's going to be the first thing that happens after the rapture, is the unsealing of the scroll.
What are your thoughts?
But that's what I did. Jesus had when Jesus came on the scene, it wasn't Jesus first. It was John the Baptist.
That's right.
100%.
So if Trump's the Antichrist, who's John the Baptist?
Yeah, you need.
There was no John the Baptist. I think Trump is the John the Baptist, because look at his name, Donald J. John Trump. And what was John the Baptist? He was a voice crying in the wilderness. What's the Trump? It's the voice of a trumpet. It's a cry. Okay, so his name is Donald J. Trump, and it's a voice crying in the wilderness. Okay, the Pharisees thought that John the Baptist was the Messiah, just like we think that Trump is the Messiah.
Yeah, and they asked him directly, and he said no.
And then John created this whole platform of works, and John accomplished all this stuff.
Yep.
That Jesus took over essentially after John was decreased and Jesus increased. So you see how Trump could be that guy that is establishing all this stuff, all his work's getting accomplished, and then the real Antichrist shows up and takes over.
Yeah, he's putting everything into play.
One thing is that I didn't really like it. I look, Trump talked at the World Economic Forum, and it was kind of like, I'm taking care of the United States. So I like that part, but he still is, he doesn't talk negatively against the globalists, and he is a businessman and stuff like that. I think that, and I'm open to interpretation for eschatology and stuff like that, but it seems like, yes, the beast will be an individual, but the beast also has a system, and it seems like there's 10 kings, right? And if you look at, it was one of those global think tanks that divided the whole world into 10 different districts. I don't know if it's a Club of Rome or not, or something like that. But there's 10 kings. And I think that in behind the scene, there is a competition to who's going to be getting large areas. And that might be why, Russia's flexing, his muscle. He's part of the World Economic Forum as well. So I really don't think that Trump is the Antichrist, but I'm keeping my eyes open to see about the 10 kings, because people concentrate on the Antichrist.
It almost feels like the book of Daniel and the book of Revelation. Like I've argued in the past, I've built an argument in the past that perhaps what Daniel was seeing, and the angel said, close up the vision that you saw, Daniel, and sealed it up until the latter days. And then all of a sudden you see John opening it up. A part of me feels like that's the same book. What Daniel saw is what John is actually experiencing, and looking through everything and writing everything down as fast as he can.
Makes sense.
So there is it's almost like watching a glorified chessboard with all these moving pieces. You have Trump, you have a lot of the American stuff going on, you have a lot of the Russian stuff going on, China, all these pieces, pawns, players, all this kind of stuff going on. We know the end, which is checkmate, which is Jesus Christ coming down. But how do you get to that checkmate is very complex right now. There's so many moves, and I'm not a great chess player. I'm just like, oh man, I got to bring my queen out. First move, if I can. Move a pawn, move my queen. Oh, I just lost my queen. Dang it. Not smart.
Well,
Shane, at one point, if you don't mind, remember I was talking about that video. We're not playing the video. I don't want you getting banned, but I tried it as best as possible to take screenshots of the video.
Okay. Sure.
And it's related to abduction, so I figure it's good. And if you don't mind.
Yeah.
I'll go
Yeah,
through the.
show it up. Yeah, pictures I don't mind. If it gets into
Yeah.
video, I'm gonna get slapped around crazy.
No, I'll show it on mine.
Okay.
Another time. Sorry. Let me. Entire screen.
All right, here we go.
Okay, you should see it soon.
Okay, pump this up.
Let me know.
All right. Okay.
Okay, I'll just blast through a couple of Jacques Vallée. So Jacques Vallée, he's a ufologist, and he's not a Christian. In fact, he sounds illusions about the alien phenomena, that it is not intergalactic. These are not space brothers from far off, that they're interdimensional. And then after, I'll show you a few things about the plasmoid. Just before, let's go to the image here. So I found this. Maybe you guys can try and go check it yourselves. But this is supposed to be I think the Malaysian Airlines in 2014 that was never found, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know if this is true, but it looks pretty good. Anyways, you'll see this plane. And this is supposedly taken by military, like spy drones and stuff like that, which means that they're actually aware that this is happening, and they're just filming the phenomenon. So you have these three orbs, and they're just like spinning around in circles around the plane while it's flying. And all of a sudden, look, it's hard, eh? I was trying to capture it, but you can see the full, all of a sudden, like a hole just open up. And boom, it just disappears. A whole abduction of a plane. And the other thing is up here, Jacques Vallée, this is his opinion. We are dealing with a yet unrecognized level of consciousness, independent of man, but closely linked to the Earth. I do not believe anymore that UFOs are simply the spacecraft of some race of extraterrestrial visitors. This notion is too simplistic to explain their appearances, the frequency of their manifestations throughout recorded history, and the structure of the information exchange and contact. The medical examination to which abductees are said to be subjected, often accompanied by sadistic sex manipulation, is reminiscent of the medieval tales of encounters with demons. It makes no sense in this intelligent being equipped with the scientific marvels of the UFOs possess would be in a position to achieve any of these alleged scientific objections in a shorter time and with fewer risks, and also using probably anesthesia. The symbolic display seen by the abductees is identical to the type of initiation, ritual, or astral voyage that is embedded in the occult traditions of every culture. The structure of abduction stories is identical to that of occult initiation rituals. The UFO beings of today belong to the same class of manifestations as the occult entities that were described in centuries past. I think the stage is set for the appearance of new faiths centered on the UFO belief to a greater degree than all phenomena modern science is confronting. The UFO can inspire awe, the sense of the smallness of man. It's funny, God doesn't give that, but these things do. And an idea of the possibility of contact with the cosmic. The religion we have briefly surveyed began with miraculous experiences of one person, but today there are thousands for whom the belief in otherworldly contact is intimate conviction drawn from what they regard as personal contact with UFOs and their occupants. There's some more, but the spiritual realm into the physical realm, it causes an ionization of the electrons in the atmosphere, which turns probably plum. And we can see these kind of formulations happening. These are the orbs, I think, that we're seeing over here. And plasma is often referred to as a fourth state of matter. In addition to solid, liquid, and gas, it is the ionized gas consisting of positive ions and free electrons. This is another view of it, and I missed it, but all of a sudden you see in real time a white flash and that plane disappears. Some examples of plasma that we're starting to be able to use to our benefit. Lightning is a massive electrical charge that creates plasma, the sun and the stars as well, the fluorescent lights, but fusion reactions. But the plasma has many unique properties and applications, including energy generation and storage. All of these fallen angels have this technology, and they knew this in antiquity. And, medical treatments, material processing like plasma cutting, plasma deposition, and look at this, aerospace propulsion. So I think these UFOs, it's just plasma.
Right.
And this is just basically, we're seeing fallen angel technology. Interesting. You can start looking at these glyphs and stuff, and look at the arcs, what they create. Maybe these ancients were aware that these guys are silly. We're looking at aliens. This ain't God. But if we go and we understand as Christians, this is plasma, and this happens when beings come from one dimension to another. There's an ionization. This is the aliens, so that they don't, perish and become deceived, and so that Christians do have an answer. Look at these things. I think these are plasma vehicles, and it would make sense during great moments when God is dealing with humanity, that people would likely see these kind of manifestations. That's it.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. Yesterday I did a Bible study on Galatians chapter 3, verse 19, talking about the law was ordained by angels. And I have like 100 slides that I use just to talk about that verse. And I had about 600 to 800 slides that I didn't use because I didn't want to overwhelm anyone. So I just stuck to 100. Yeah. So it took me 2 hours to talk about that verse. And basically the synopsis was that on Mount Sinai, when God was giving the commandments to Moses, God had angels surrounding the Moses so that the Israelites weren't allowed to touch the mountain. They had at least 20,000 chariots, basically bodyguards for God himself. It's almost like when you see Trump rolling into town, most likely outside of the Super Bowl into New Orleans, you could see all the black cars showing up and all the police helicopters and all this kind of stuff. So if you're talking about plasma and technology that we don't fully understand just yet, why would we think that God wouldn't have people to block off a certain section on the whole mountain that looked like it was enveloping in smoke, in plasma, in fire, and whatever? It's not being engulfed. That why would we think that angels don't live in that type of realm of fire? When it's all through the Old Testament, that these angels are there, that if anyone touches the mountain, they're going to smoke them with a dart or a stone, a fiery stone or whatever, and kill them. They're not huge fans. Not all angels are huge fans of human beings. A lot of them are huge fans of Jesus Christ himself. They are his personal bodyguards, if you will. And we know this when Jesus Christ was being arrested, that Peter took out his sword and cut off the priest's nephew or whatever his ear, and Jesus heals his ear and says, look, don't you know I can call like 12 legions of angels right now to take these guys out? So he's holding back his bodyguards to take out all these people that are touching the anointed one. He's telling them, hey, hold off. I have to go through this. So you got Mount Sinai where there's thousands of angels ready to unleash on these people that are worshiping golden calves and all this stuff. And God's like, or Moses is basically like, Lord, don't do it. Please, like, don't. He's a mediator. So it's very powerful to have that image of there is a dimension out there that we have no idea about how they interact with us, but they are out there. It's like the X-Files. They're out there. They're hinting at us. They keep telling us this stuff. And I know Bob pays attention to this.
Absolutely.
There's
think about that.
There's even
angels.
Go ahead.
I think angels, they were created in God's glory, you know. Yeah. So the fact that, you know, that's why there's no mercy for these angels. Because you're already in God's glory, you're direct creation in God's glory. We are striving to get there. We have to have faith in that, you know. This kind of makes you wonder about these angels of who are you? You know, you're already there in glory, and here we are struggling down here in the dirt, and they just want to come kill everybody. You know, I think their judgment is like, say, a bit Jesus, like, you know what? You guys have poor judgment sometimes to these angels.
Yeah.
Hold back to, you know, who are you? Yeah. You know they're going to replace you guys, right? Maybe some of them, they didn't fall.
Yeah.
But the arrogance of them sometimes, you know, it's kind of annoying.
Yeah.
But, you know, but the angels, that's why there's no forgiveness for them. They fall once, you're going to hell. Yeah. Lake of fire for you. Gone.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, you don't get forgiven. One bad thing you do, boom, you're gone.
Yeah.
I'm glad I'm not an angel.
Exactly.
I'll never be an angel, thank God.
Yeah. And there are some classes of angels that are actually called evil angels that God uses at his disposal, and they will have no mercy. Why? Because they believe they obey God's word. They're like soldiers. They don't question anything. The only time that we're protected right now is because of Jesus Christ. If we weren't here, these angels would have full reign of just slaughtering whoever, because they're all breaking the laws of Moses or the laws of God. And there's a protection over us right now, almost like the Ark of the Covenant, where you have a lid and then you have two angels that are looking down, and then you have the mercy seat above it. And we're protected. But man, once we're out of here.
Yeah. Or like the blood of that Passover lamb that protected Israel from the angel, the destroying angel. That's what you're saying, you know?
Yeah.
And I thought it was kind of interesting what you were saying, too, about the angels, you know, like being able to withstand the fire, live in the fire. Jason and I were actually kind of talking about that a little bit. Earlier this week, we did a video on hell and whether it's, you know, like, you know, something that goes on and on eternally, or something that eventually the sinners, you know, destroyed, obliterated. And not to get too deep into the weeds in that, you can always go back to my channel or his channel to watch that. But one of the things I was talking about that I thought was really interesting was, when I was doing my studies back in Genesis, you know, the Hebrew word for heaven is Shemayim. That's how you would say heaven in Hebrew, is Shemayim, which if you analyze the word, it's a conjunctive word. You know, it's made of two separate words. The sh comes from ish, which is fire, and mayim means water. So it's actually, the word for heaven in Hebrew is actually fire water, you know, and it's just kind of interesting to me because the more I go down the rabbit hole and think about it, every time we see God represented in Scripture, how is he represented? He's a consuming fire. We see, you know, Jesus viewed in Daniel in Revelation as, you know, he looked like fire from the waist downwards. And we know that if we were to see God today, it says no man may see God and live. Why? Because if we were to see him in our present form, what are we made up of? What's our body made up of?
Water.
We're 90% water, right? So we have to have that transformation where we are no longer just water, but we can withstand the fire.
Oh, good point. Yeah.
Yeah. So what are your, this is deep, man. We can go on for a few hours on just fire and the idea that, you know, Peter talks about the world being melted away and all this kind of stuff, but that's another video. But I want to get kind of your guys' final thoughts. Take your time. I want to go for another 12 minutes kind of thing and wrap it up so that you guys can actually go and see whatever's going on. But just final thoughts. Maybe whoever wants to go for first, if you want to go or whatever. But we got time. I got time here, but I want to respect your guys' time with family. And if you feel like you got to go, if you want to say something now, give yourself like 5-6 minutes to say something. Whatever, take your time. No rush.
Mm-hmm.
Bob, if you wanna share your thoughts, yeah.
One of my thoughts is that we're looking forward to getting out of here, and our antennas are way up right now. There probably more than likely won't be an event that takes place that will be the Rapture Resurrection or nuclear attack. I could be wrong, but more than likely, every time we've seen stuff like this start lining up and perfect alignments, hey, this is going to be a big event. It always ends up being a nothing burger. Okay. But essentially, one day that stuff's going to come to an end. Big things are going to start happening. I think that's Daniel's 70th week. Everything that we've seen and all the predictive programming was all being saved for Daniel's 70th week. Okay. When there was no more hand of restraint. From the dollar bills with the money going over the top of the buildings, and the nuclear explosions and stuff like that, the dreams and visions with the tsunamis in the cities, and of course, a football game getting blown up, So I think all this stuff is going to come to pass, but I think it's being held back because, come on, those are some pretty significant events that take place during the Age of Grace, during the timeout period. I believe the time clock has to be in, the clock has to be ticking. For some of these really big things that take place, like the Deagle report saying that, this is the year where 90% of us are going to be depopulated from this country alone here in America. So what's going to take place? You're going to tell me that the bird disease that's going to do the trick? I don't think so. Okay, I think there has to be something a lot more potent, like a war or something like that. Mm-hmm. But this year, though, looks great for the Rapture. You guys need to watch Dr. Barry All's channel and how he lays it out, man. This night, 2032, that's the return of Christ right there. 2032, that's the best. That's the best we have now. So count 7 years back. That's this year. So everybody, get ready.
All right, thank you, Bob. Appreciate that.
Mm-hmm.
Derek, what are your thoughts?
Well, sitting here thinking about, what we've been talking about, thinking about what's coming up after we shut this program down. My thoughts go to Brother Josh from End Times Talk. Miss him here. I know he was at a chili cook-off at church, but in a way, I never say I'm glad that Josh is not here because I love Josh to death. But in a way, I'm glad he's not here because early on he says, man, I'm tired of talking about Trump. He's like, I swear I wouldn't talk about Trump. But Trump he's like the most interesting man in the world, isn't he? I mean, he literally is the most interesting man in the world. And so we can't help but to talk about him. And, the thing that I find fascinating, we are not wishing any ill on anybody. We don't wish any ill on our president. We don't wish any ill on anybody that's attending this game tonight. In fact, we should pray for the safety of all. We should hope and pray that, like Bob said, it's just an uneventful, stupid game with some stupid commercials and a lousy halftime show. That's what we should all hope goes down. However, having said that, I have heard a long time ago, this goes way back before I ever knew Trump was going to go to the Super Bowl, which I only found out a few days ago, but like back after his second assassination attempt. Okay, you guys remember, seems like ancient history now, but over the summer, he had the one in Pennsylvania, then he had the second one down at his golf course in Mar-a-Lago. And I heard, just not religious, but just, secular political analysts saying, there's no way they're going to take this guy out now. He's got way too much security. The only way they can take him out at this point is a mass casualty event. That's what they've been saying. They said, if they want to do it, now they got to make it look like, like it wasn't just meant for him. It was meant for a bunch of people. And that stuck out. So now where is he? He's going to be at a place where it's a high profile target. They're not going to let somebody in the door with a weapon, but could somebody, do something? I don't know. I'm just saying that a lot of predictive programming. Somebody in the comments earlier was mentioning the movie, The Sum of All Fears. There was also a scene in, I think it was one of the Batman movies, The Dark Knight Rises, where, they blew so it's out there, it's out there, again, let's hope that it's nothing. Let's pray that it's nothing, but it's definitely going to be worth watching to the end just to know if it goes down as normal or if something big happens. This is definitely a big deal.
Yeah, no, for sure. Jason, what are your thoughts?
Don't really have much thoughts. I pretty much happy I got to share the few things that I wanted to point out about the abduction. To be honest, I don't expect anything big to happen at the Super Bowl besides, just a lot of filth being pushed and woke agenda and stuff like that. But there is always that danger because there's so many potential sleeper cells that have entered over the last 4 years into the United States, like millions and millions of people that could be organized quickly together. So it's always a possibility. I'm going to let you go because my computer's going to die.
Yes.
I will start just maybe a 30-minute video very soon. Because I want to show, I don't mind, I'll show the actual video. And if it's a 20-minute thing that gets demonetized, I don't really care. So so if anybody's interested, when this is
the man, the myth, the legend, Jason John Schwartz, check out his channel.
That's it. Yeah, it's awesome. It's Jason John Schwartz. Just type that in. All right, guys. God bless.
Awesome.
See you soon.
God bless, brother.
So
see you guys.
Thank you,
brother. God bless.
I remember watching a playoff game with Boston against the Edmonton Oilers. And you got to understand sports. You never move a sports game unless it's like weather or something weird. You don't do that. You don't shift it because there's so many people paying money for advertising, all kinds of stuff. You just don't move it, right?
Mm-hmm.
But we were watching a playoff game, and all of a sudden this fog moved into the Boston Gardens. And it got so bad for the cameras that they couldn't see the puck anymore. They couldn't see the players, so they delayed it. They had to postpone a Stanley Cup playoff game to another day, and they brought the Stanley Cup back to the Oilers in Edmonton, whereas they were going to win it out of town, but they ended up winning it back home in Edmonton, and they won the cup. So it's kind of weird. You couldn't have predicted that the day before, that the Oilers were going to win the Stanley Cup back home, because that's not how it works. They're in Boston. But all of a sudden they had to shift the game because they shut down the whole place. So now in my Black Swan antenna, I have to be this guy. What if they evacuate the whole building just because of some kind of security problem?
Right.
And all of a sudden the game has to be another week. And whatever Trump had to say, they got it out there, whatever it is, clear the building. That's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for the Black Swan. So I have to throw it out there, because then we can come back and watch the video and go, oh, yeah, he predicted, he was wrong. I'm expecting something major to happen in this game. I don't know what it is, but a Black Swan is something that you can't predict. So I'm going to predict the whole place gets shut down, the lights go out, whatever it is, and they have to evacuate everyone. So if I predicted it, it's maybe not a Black Swan.
Or the rapture takes place, the resurrection shuts off all the power, and then all those who are getting raptured or are living, they'll start glowing like lights, and they'll light up the whole stadium, and then they'll get caught up. And some people are catching on their cameras, and who knows?
Yeah.
Imagine that being the event.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. All bets are off right now. It's like anything can happen. So thank you.
Unlikely.
Thank you guys for being on the show. I appreciate it. Enjoy your family tonight. Enjoy the halftime show as much as you can. Glean lots of stuff, as we'll probably, if you guys are on Uptime, you guys will be talking about it on Uptime, I'm sure, what happened on Sunday, or it could be a nothing burger.
Yep.
Nothing at all. If there is something going on and we're still here, I will be having overtime Tuesday night after Uptime as well. So we'll have lots to talk about either way.
Well, Shane, one last time, since I know you can't afford the $1 million 30-second Super Bowl commercial.
Yes.
If I go out, get your Black Swan mug.
Get it before it's too late. Get your cup before it's too late. Yeah. No, it's good. Famous last words. All right. Okay. Thank you guys for being on here. Really appreciate you guys. Stick around in the back, and I'll say bye to everyone.
Good night, everybody.
God bless everybody. Take care.
All right. Thank you guys for watching the show. Hope you enjoy the Super Bowl. Whatever you get from a glean. If you want to send me an email as well, Black Swan Diary 2022@gmail.com. If there's something that maybe I'll miss tonight or we've missed talking about, email me. Any video clips, anything that you want me to look at regarding the Super Bowl tonight, send that to me, and then I'll talk about it sometime later in the week. Thanks a lot. Appreciate you guys, and I'll see you later. Bye for now.